it's tough to be, how did you prepare for yourselves? Heading out there, what kind of training were you doing? What kind of shopping were you doing?
A lot of shopping.
Yeah.
A lot.
Probably too much.
Yeah, this outfit was one of those not worn there because I overpacked so much. I thought that every day I think I was going to have 3 different outfit changes. And so there are still outfits that I have not worn that I will be wearing at Miss Connecticut USA weekend coming up. But I think for Jade and I, not to speak for her, and she'll talk about her journey too, we did a lot of it together.
Yes.
A lot of conversations between the two of us on what it means to be mentally prepared and ready for it. Conversations about how we felt about our bodies and just feeling confident within it without feeling like we needed to overchange ourselves or be a less authentic version of what we showcased when we were at Miss Connecticut and Miss Teen Connecticut. And I think that was probably my happiest and strong point, was knowing that I wasn't doing it alone. I have the support of my family, but Jade and I spent a lot of talking and laughter and crying and nervousness just preparing for Miss USA and Miss Teen USA.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was probably the best part because I guess nobody tells you about the ups and downs of, going through such a whirlwind of a process so fast. There was a lot of changes this year. And I think, being put into that type of element, and also somebody like me who doesn't come from pageantry at all, everything was so new. So I think to have Karla with me and to make a joke out of it now that we're out the stress of it and to look back at the memories and just have a good laugh, but also have somebody by your side through those hard days, that's what really made my journey cool.
Now, what was your biggest worries heading off to the nationals? Things that you were stressed about that you found out you really need to be stressed about.
That I don't need to be stressed
Yeah.
about? Because I was super stressed about my national costume not fitting. So, funny story, our national costume ended up arriving when I wasn't in town. It arrived about, I want to say, less than a week before when I needed to leave for Miss USA. And I was in Florida at the time. So my incredible future mother-in-law went to go pick up the package and they wouldn't let her take it because it wasn't in her name. And then she called me crying as I'm trying to plead with them to let her take the package. But our licenses didn't have our newest address. It turned into this huge, huge problem just for her to get the package. And then I couldn't even try it on when I came back from Florida because I had gotten a spray tan and I didn't want to get my costume all sorts of spray tanned up. So I actually didn't try on my costume until I arrived to Reno. And that was really, really stressful. Luckily, I didn't. In the end, it all worked out and it fit perfectly. And I scared poor Barbara, our director, to death because she kept asking me if I had tried it on. And I said no. So
I'm just hearing about this.
Luckily, it all worked out. But I was very, very stressed that I was not going to fit in that costume.
The costume was a really stressful process. I had these huge wings that I was very stressed out about how I was going to be packaging it and then getting it, to getting the wings all the way over to Reno. It was very stressful, I must say. I think my personal thing that I was stressed out about was just my overall, how I was going to deal under, stress when I got there. I was a little scared that I was going to go into a shell, and I really was in my head a little bit a couple days prior to me heading over to Reno. So I was a little bit nervous how I was going to be when I got there. Thankfully though, I was just in my head and I was able to calm my nerves down, and I just had fun and let loose. And I think by me just reminding myself that, hey, you're here at Miss Teen USA, you've made it to your goal, that reassured me to kind of just be fine with being myself and just let loose and have fun.
Now, were there any concerns about, meeting the other contestants, especially for you, Jade, since you were new to pageants, and pageant contestants have a certain reputation? What concerns, if any, did you have heading, meeting 50 other contestants from across this country?
Okay, definitely the only concern I had was that I didn't want to miss out on not talking to anyone. I wanted to make sure that I get to talk to as many people as possible, and I was able to do that. I just wanted to have as much fun when I got to Miss Teen USA. I didn't really want to focus so much on the title and the crown. It's not about that. It's about the experience that you make of it. And like I said, you made it this far. So just to be, grateful, show gratitude, and show it with the contestants as well, and your like pageant sisters, and that was the best part, I would say, of this Team USA, is just socializing, having fun, letting loose, and getting to say that I talked to every state. So
Now, Karla, you're a veteran of pageants, so you know the colors of contestants. So let's not ask you that question. But what did you like about meeting the contestants from the rest of the country? You had the opportunity to meet somebody from Montana, somebody from Alabama, and what was it like for you to be able to meet these women?
So it's actually funny that you mentioned those two states in particular, because Montana and I became very close. She had this incredibly beautiful Midwestern accent that she could actually turn up or turn down, and I found that so fascinating. She was such a sweetheart, and Miss Alabama and I actually had the chance of meeting each other prior to competing at Miss USA, and I did the same with a lot of the northeastern states too. I was able to meet them prior to being there. So for myself, it was more recognizing the opportunity that I had to know more about these girls. Yes, they're representing the states, but what do they do outside of being their state delegate and representative? Because the majority of us do have full-time jobs. So I was able to talk to Arizona, who is a police officer, and I was able to get to know California, who works in the military and is in the Army. So for me, my biggest goal was just to get to know more about them, kind of peel back that onion and know who they are outside of pageantry and how they related that to pageantry.
Now, what was for you the most exciting part of being at the competition, other than waiting to find out who won or won out? Because usually they have a full week, 2 weeks to keep you busy. What was the best part of the time there?
So because it was a transitionary period, we actually didn't receive the full 2 weeks or 1 week prior to competition to enjoy and get to know the area. But even with the short period of time that we had the opportunity to go to Lake Tahoe, and I was able to see it. It's not only as beautiful as you think is in postcards, but my family and I actually stayed a few days after, and I made them rent a car just so that I can share with them the beauty that was this area. But of course, in true Karla life fashion, the day that I went with my family, it wasn't the pristine, clear day that I had gone with my USA sisters. It started snowing and slightly hailing, and it was dark and stormy, and the waters were not reflective. It was beautiful. So for me, as someone who likes being outdoors, I got to see both ends of it, and not everyone can say in a short trip that they got to see both sides of Lake Tahoe.
Thankfully, I had, a beautiful day when I went there. It was so fun. We did a scavenger hunt. I think that was my favorite memory there of the events that we did, because we all got to group up and I haven't done a scavenger hunt in years. So it was, nice to kind of go back in my childhood and, do that again at Miss Teen USA with my pageant sisters. I had a lot of fun doing it.
Now you're going to be handing over the crown to successors in a couple of weeks. What kind of feelings do you have now that you've had it for a year? Now you got to say, I got to go give it back. How are you feeling?
So I just wrote my farewell speech.
Me too.
And I finalized it today. So I'm not going to tell you everything I wrote in it. But when meditating about this year and what it has brought me and what I hope that the next title holder and contestants, all of them, take with themselves, is the concept and the idea of gratitude. As you said, I am a veteran. I'm not a rookie. I've been around the block. I've held titles. I've lost titles. I've been very close to some, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. I didn't think I was going to compete again until Sean, my fiance, said, "You're going to regret it." At that point, there was an age limit. And so I said, you know what, you're right. Maybe this is the year. So I am filled with gratitude, because it wasn't in my cards, in my head at all, that I was going to win it, let alone be in the top 20 at Miss USA. But entering in faith and entering with all the joy in my heart, I was able to obtain those things. But even if I didn't win, I was content with myself. When I was holding hands and closing my eyes and thinking, they may call Sarah and not Karla, I was okay with that decision too, because my heart was at peace with what I had accomplished. Wow. I'm sorry, I was really thinking about it all day. I wrote the farewell. I'm not kidding.
It's also the advantage of being a miss as opposed to just a teacher.
It's crazy, like, now thinking about, you know, like, that, yeah, our year is coming to an end. Even this interview is, like, a full circle moment from when we just won to now, like, you know, we're giving our titles up. I mean, I think there's a lot, you know, that I can say about this year, which I'm also going to hold off on, because I just finalized my letter as well. But I feel like this year has definitely, my life has completely changed. I feel like I took a risk and, you know, went into a new area that I wasn't also familiar with, but I did that to push myself to my limit to make myself a better person. I was struggling a lot with low self-esteem. I deal with anxiety, and I mean, if you told me this 2 years ago, I would probably never believe that I'd be in the place that I am today just because of the headspace I was in. And I just didn't feel comfortable, like, putting myself out there in situations where I could possibly blossom from. So I think this year has definitely taught me to just take that risk, be you unapologetically, and just always lead with your heart. And I think you can never go wrong with that. And to also be grateful, show gratitude, because I mean, I feel like throughout a healing journey and throughout your journey of just, you know, self-empowerment within yourself, there's never no wrong direction. You're always in the right direction. Not every day is going to be easy, but it's always a day that's going to lead you closer to your end goal.
And just to kind of wrap it up, I know it's too late for contestants for this year, but for anybody who's considering, you know, entering the following year, what advice would you give them?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I would say to just authentically be themselves. I think when I first competed in 2021, I feel like I was in this mindset of, like, I thought to win, you had to be perfect. And I feel like that's definitely not the type of headspace to be in. Just be yourself. Like I said, lead with your heart and lead with your passions. Just be you unapologetically. And I think that will always lead you in the right direction. That's the, you know, best piece of advice that I can give through this year. And, you know, there's going to be ups and downs, but just always remember that this is your growth of you becoming into the best version of yourself.
I think that's a great answer and speaks to the idea that whatever state, whatever pageant system you're planning on entering, it's not the title that makes the girl, right? The girl makes the title. So when you're even thinking, is this something that someone like me should do? Rephrase that question and say, what can I bring to them? What can I teach them? What has my life helped me, empowered me? What are my passions? And how can I showcase that towards others? How can I incorporate that into this organization? Because whoever ends up winning will kind of have a clean slate. And it's up to you to decide how you want to take advantage of that, what you want to speak about. So it's not the title. You need to come in there being yourself, knowing yourself, and saying, this is the reason why you should pick me, because I know myself.